Hey everyone, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 14, and I know it's been a couple weeks since we've done this podcast, but life happens. We've all been a little busy, but in the meantime, we yesterday, Katie, Lily, and Jean and I did the commentary for Wonder Woman. I'm having some issues uploading that. That should be up sometime later today. But joining me today are some of the awesome people who've been on the podcast before. So if you guys want to go around and reintroduce yourselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Artem. You can find me as Greg on Tumblr.
I'm Danielle, and I'm a Social Justice League on Tumblr.
I'm Katie, and I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Fatma, and I'm Staios in Gotham on Tumblr.
Alright, thank you guys for joining me. I know it's been a little hectic trying to get our schedules all lined up the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do this podcast today with this subject in particular. So today we're pretty much going to be talking about, the road leading up to Justice League. And it's probably a good time to talk about that because there's been a lot of stuff coming out with Justice League lately. And then on Sunday, the new trailer drops, which I'm super, super stoked for. And I honestly didn't think we were going to get another trailer because I thought the Comic-Con one was that was a great one to end it on if they chose to do so. But we're getting one more, and that's fine. But, it's just... I'm getting to that point where, I really just want to see the movie already.
Yeah.
And especially because New York Comic-Con is going on right now, and there's a bunch of Justice League stuff going on there, and then, earlier today / last night, they were, a new promo from Mercedes-Benz showing, Bruce Wayne's car that they used in that movie that was, specially made for the movie that's worth, over $1 million, and they showed all this, B-roll and behind-the-scenes stuff of, Bruce and Barry leaving in the car in Central City, and it's even little things like that get me super hyped about the movie.
Wait, so does Justice League is the budget part of? Do they pay $1 million for the car, or does Mercedes just do it as part of advertisement for their own brand and they give it to Batman?
I'm not sure how that works exactly. I think it's probably a bit of both. They probably have to pay to use it, but also they get money on their end because it's advertising for them, saying oh hey, here's this new car, even though no one can really buy it. Because I was watching a behind the scenes video, and in that specific car was made to be a real life model of one of the cars in the new Gran Turismo video games, and I guess Ben or Zach or someone saw the car and were we want that for the movie. And then they made the car a real working car just for Justice League. So I'm not sure how that works.
So it's one of a kind then.
Essentially, yeah. They said that it's a couple more out
cool.
there, but yeah, it's the one on Justice League at that time was the only working one of that kind, which is really cool.
If I recall correctly, that's not the first time that we've done this for Batman. I think that this was something that happened to Nolan, and I want to say that it happened for the 90s movies too. Mm-hmm. But that's just an inkling. I don't have any facts to back that up, but I think that this might be a Batman thing.
Yeah, and then with other movies in the past too, they did it in the Transformers movies with the Bumblebee Camaro. That was at the time it was before all the new Camaros had come out. They've done it with Iron Man and the Avengers movies. So this isn't fairly new to just simply Batman, but I think it's cool that you get to see an awesome car like that, and then it's a real functioning car, and it's something that you would think that a billionaire would buy. It's not just something
Yep.
The one thing about the Dark Knight movie is
I think any company in the world would be clawing at the chance to have anything featured anywhere close to the Batman name with Warner Bros. Because Batman sells like crazy.
That's true.
So I don't just the Batman brand, and to have it legit with Warner Bros. On it as well. Any company would just be lining up to get their brand anywhere near it.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. It's awesome because we have one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. Well,
I think that's one of the reasons that the price tag on all of the promo products and even the merchandise. I bought a compact for the Wonder Woman movie last week, and it was the brush set for Wonder Woman that's a promotional piece of material. It's $99, and that's just as far as merch goes, and just something with the logo on it. That was totally foreign to me, and I think half the reason that they do that is to keep that sort of availability of sort of associating highbrow, expensive products associated with this film, and I think that's part of the reason why they can pull these kind of advertisers, where they're like they're advertising for airlines and they're advertising for car companies pretty directly.
Yeah, that's why I think
talking about that makeup brush set, Danielle.
Isn't it
I
beautiful?
was dying for it the other time. Yeah, I really wanted it, but I just cannot justify spending that much amount of money. I think it's only 89 in British pounds.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, nope, I cannot spend that much money on a brush set. I'm sorry.
I couldn't justify buying the brushes because I've just never owned brushes that expensive that I wouldn't know. Like, I wouldn't use them. I'd like probably put them in like a glass case and be like, they're beautiful. I'm never gonna touch that. But I did buy the compact, and you can buy the compact separately, and that one's only $35, which is still a lot for a compact, but it's
Not
really
quite
gorgeous.
I
have no excuse.
Guys, I can just feel the merch that's coming. The merch that's coming from Justice League movie, and I just can't wait for it to be everywhere. And I just have an explosion of all of the superheroes in one go, and like I get a choice between all of them, and Aquaman is just looking to be one of my favorites because he's such a rare thing to get. It's usually just the main ones like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman that you can get usually in terms of t-shirts and merch. But to get an Aquaman shirt and to make it in that way, oh yes, guys, looking forward to it so much.
And that's what like the marketing they've done for like Justice League, Wonder Woman, and even Batman vs Superman. Like, for me, some of the best bits of marketing I think were done for Batman vs Superman were those Turkish airline commercials where you got to look at Metropolis and Gotham, and like you got to see like Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor kind of like advertising their city, you know. And I thought like that's a really cool bit of advertising because I think that was during the Super Bowl. And
yeah, it was.
Because we were all expecting, they're gonna do some sort of like trailer or something. I think that was even more effective than like a 30-second trailer because you had a sense of like the cities, which like you don't like. Of course, in the movie, you get a sense of what Gotham's like, what Metropolis is like, but to get that little bit right before the movie, I really enjoyed it. And to get like a little bit of a different look at the city too, from like if this were a real city, like what would it look like in the eyes of the public, you know? So I thought that was really cool. And the fact that in those commercials, like Batman was like this like mythic thing, like if you stick around, you might see the Batman at night, or something, you know.
It was an excellent piece of world building built into their advertisement, which was impressive to me because you don't see that very often, you know? Because the advertising is advertising and world building is world building, and they're like, let's just mash these two together. But WB tends to like to do that a little bit, and especially for the DC films. I remember a little bit of that even on the Dark Knight trilogy when they were releasing stuff that was like, quote, real. And yet it was just building the world around the films. It was actually really cool.
Yeah. The promotion for that film was brilliant. Brilliant. Like, there was a whole viral campaign for the Nolan films that if you followed it closely enough, like, you could help solve puzzles.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the one. Thank you.
Oh my god.
And I blew my mind. And I think I remember it was the same sort of promotion for Man of Steel as well, because that's how they released one of the trailers, because, like, you were kind of like decrypting this message, and it turned out to be like Zod's message that was all like pixelated and messed up video. And he did that on the website or whatever. Like you unlocked like the newest trailer.
I missed that.
I thought that was really cool. Like I kind of wish they would do something like that. But of course, with Justice League being so big, like they have a lot of stuff going on their website. But like I kind of miss like the promotion being a little more interactive in that way. You know, where like if you do this, you can unlock the new trailer instead of like on this day the trailer comes out. It's like no, like the fans are what unlock the trailer. You know, like that. I just remember like back then, like in Man of Steel when that was going on, it was like so much fun to be like an interactive experience, to have an interactive experience. I loved it, and I kind of wish it was there for Justice League, but it's fine because I love the marketing for Justice League so far. And especially because in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten like a lot of posters and images and stuff. And I have to say, one of my favorite images is the one of Bruce and Diana in the Batcave. Bruce is sitting down without the mask.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's something about the image that's just like so like comic booky to me. But it's so awesome just like seeing Ben in the full bat suit, like, and he fills out that suit really well. Like I don't like. The one thing about Christian Bale's batsuit, I feel like it made him look smaller than he was. Like, Christian Bale was huge in those movies, but I feel like the suit kind of like underplayed his actual like physique.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Ben's suit, it like complements that and like adds on a little more to make him look huge and menacing. Like, and a lot of this, like if you look at that warehouse scene in Batman v Superman, like he looks physically intimidating, and that's what I've always liked about Ben's look as Batman.
Yeah, and I agree that's very comic booky, because in the comic books and even a lot of the cartoons and stuff, they really focus on that. He's a big guy. He's a really big guy, and he works hard to keep himself that way, and so I agree. Part of what I liked so much about that picture was the fact that he was sitting in his bat suit without the cowl, and we don't usually get that. We usually get him as Bruce Wayne or him as Batman, and there's not really a whole lot in between, and here... I don't know, especially after Batman v Superman, it was really cool to see him wearing the suit, but with the cowl off, and it's showing his face, Bruce Wayne, and it really, I don't know, tells me that he's grown and come to a better place in terms of who he is, and found a better balance between Bruce Wayne and the Bat. Yeah. And that could be just me reading into things, but that was the first impression I got looking at it, and I was like, oh, cool. So I agree, I really like that picture.
I know, because
it kind of...
You can go.
It kind of shows a bit of humanity to the Batman character.
That's true.
In any sense, instead of that godlike, or not even godlike, because I mean Batman isn't considered a god. That's more of a Superman thing. But it kind of like shows that underneath the costume, he is still there. It's not just a symbol for him. Yeah. So he's still, as he's in that persona, he's still trying to, I don't know, there's a weird balance to it. I really like seeing that picture, I agree with you, and I'm trying to figure it out, but I really like it. It's really fun.
I think so many of these pieces of media treat this whole secret identity thing when it comes to Batman as sort of a split personality, and I think that exploring the space between that and really giving that nuance is something new and something that I'm really like interested in seeing, which is great because I think like in a lot of ways in a DCU general way I'm kind of like full up on Batman, and I kind of like was like, well, at a certain point I'm kind of like, I've seen enough, that's good, like there's so much Batman out there. And this is like, they've actually got my interest again. They're actually doing something that I think could be like interesting or groundbreaking or something I feel like I haven't seen before.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, especially looking at Ben's portrayal as Batman. Like, you really get a good look at how broken this man really is, and you never really get that real sense of the character in the Nolan films. Like, I mean, you kind of do, but like, you don't see how deeply it really affects him. Like, for him, like in the Nolan movies, like Batman was his way of expressing that, you know. But like in Batman v Superman, especially, we see that like everything he's been through, like the Batman like consumes him to where like that's kind of all he's become, and like he doesn't even want to do the whole Playboy Bruce Wayne thing anymore. Like you see, like he's almost more comfortable being the Batman, and like Bruce Wayne is something like that's almost more mature to him than being Batman. And I think that's an interesting way to look at the character as well.
Even Alfred gave a comment about when Bruce was going to Lex's party, he was ready to go as Batman, while Alfred said that, you as Bruce Wayne, you get mission much faster as Batman. Like Bruce Wayne, like as Batman, you found nothing, but as Bruce Wayne, here you got mission.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think someone pointed out recently, I can't remember if it was like on Twitter or something, but like when the whole line about finding a woman of Metropolis to make him honest, and then like someone compared that to like the Martha scene when like Lois was the one who ultimately like was like that's his mother's name and kind of stops it. And I thought that was really cool because I never really thought about that. Like in that moment, yes, it was like it was Clark saying Martha that kind of like stopped like Bruce for a second. but it was Lois who kind of was able to like help him humanize Superman and kind of realize what he was doing was wrong. So in that way, like when Alfred says, maybe a woman from Metropolis will make you honest, in a way that it becomes true. And I think Zach even acknowledged that because someone posted it on Vero.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Yep, good find," or something along those lines.
Yep. I remember that too.
Yeah, because that was just like a week or two ago too, and that's just the awesome thing about looking at Zach's movies, and like even still we're finding new things and more layers to that movie, and it's so like we say this all the time, but you don't find that in very many movies these days. That you're constantly finding more there. Like there's like
exactly.
Yeah, there's so many more layers. You keep peeling back, and there's still more, and that's why I can't wait for Justice League to be able to dissect that movie for like years to come.
Yep.
Because knowing Zach, I mean, like, yes, he says it's a bit more of like a lighter story, a bit more of like a somewhat of a simpler story, but even then, like knowing Zach, like even like Man of Steel, I could say was a lighter film, and there's still a lot there you can tear apart and pull and find the more layers of. If we get something like that along those lines for Justice League, I'll still be happy because that's still in line with what Zach was already doing. And that's why...
completely agree.
Yeah, and that's why, like, to kind of go back into, the Justice League stuff, and that, the cast recently, I believe it was an article in Empire Magazine where, like, the cast was kind of asked about the production of the film and the reshoots and everything, and they said, honestly, the reshoots were kind of always part of the plan, and that, this movie's always been Zach's vision from day one, and the tone was... never really changed. It was kind of like they implied that like the media like took it out of proportion, which shocker. But
I know. No way.
No, but then like they're all saying like the tone, like the lightness that was already part of the plan, and we as DC fans, or like the DC film fans, we already knew that because like Chris Terrio was saying even before Batman v Superman came out, hey, Justice League is going to be a lighter movie, and Batman v Superman is going to be a lot darker of a movie, and. For some reason, like, after Batman v Superman, everyone's like, oh, well, Justice League is going to be lighter because, like, Warner Brothers thinks that the darkness was the problem and they're listening to the critics and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Like, the actors have said, and Zach has said from way before the movie even came out, that Justice League was meant to be a lighter story because that's the direction in which they were heading. And that's why I loved all the comments that the actors said about Zach and that they all loved working with him. And that's why it's so frustrating to see all these, like, articles that come out about how bad of a director Zach is. I haven't found a single actor to ever, like, criticize Zach or say that Zach was a bad director. They've all had nothing but great things to say about the guy. Like,
yeah, I think that goes a long way. And it's been nice to see them go, no.
Yeah.
And just, kindly, without attacking, but that's not how it was, and then this is how it is. And it's been just so nice to see them compliment Zach, because that's all they ever have coming out of working with him is compliments and good things to say. They really enjoy it, and that's wonderful. And I don't know, I think there's a great need in society to feel like that they are heard, because they really, really want to believe that, okay, they heard us complaining about the darkness and now they're changing it. But, sometimes that's just the plan already, and you just have to be patient and see it all come together. Very often, storytellers have a plan in mind, and they're just putting it forth, and when you get it in bits and pieces, then you get frustrated because you think it's all going to be one thing, but you don't see where they were going until you get the entire piece, and then you go, oh, okay, yeah, that tracks perfectly. So...
yeah,
well, it's like my
Sorry.
It's like my girlfriend was saying last night, is that she was like, well, what if Batman vs Superman was like a 10-part like Netflix, TV series, like a 10-episode TV series. Everyone would have had way more patience with what was happening, and everything would have been as stretched out as we may have expected it to be, and we would have had a totally different relationship to it, because we would have known this isn't a complete story. But we don't have that kind of patience when we're dealing with a movie that's in 3 parts, like a story that's literally in 3 parts.
Yeah, I think you have a point there, and especially I will say, simply because it's not labeled as like Superman 1, Superman 2, Superman 3, or something like that, many people probably have no idea that Zach is really working on a trilogy level here, and that makes it harder, But I don't know.
And that's what, it's
I don't want to like bash everybody, but at the same time, it's like if you have an issue with it, then start doing some investigation, and you might find out more. Often, if I don't quite get something, I find that it's out there. I just got to start looking and poking around and go, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I get it, and it's just easier. But
and that's why
some people like
to talk about the whole aspect of the trilogy, and it's just looking at Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then what we can expect from Justice League. It is a trilogy of Superman's story and how he really truly becomes Superman, and it's an unconventional way of creating a movie trilogy, because usually it's like a straightforward Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, something very straightforward where there is a clear vision from 1 to 2 to 3. Where just because this isn't labeled as Man of Steel 1, Man of Steel 2, Man of Steel 3, it makes it a little, people have a different set of expectations. That's why, with Batman v Superman, a lot of people were expecting just a generic, Superman and fighting Batman, and not much more to the story. And then when there was more to the story, they're like, oh, this is too dark, this is too much, this is too long, this is too boring.
This is too overstuffed. That was my favorite. I had so much stuff it was trying to do all at the same time. It didn't work. And I'm like, it all comes down to the same. Okay. So.
It's a lot to take in. I'll admit, when I showed the movie to my fiance for the first time, at least the Ultimate Edition, I was trying to let her know ahead of time, hey, this is a 3-hour movie, first of all. And this is a dense movie, so if you don't get it the first time, or if maybe it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But just know that going in, and she didn't necessarily love the movie, but she enjoyed it to some degree. And even though she's my fiance, I'm not expecting her to love every second of the movie. But just give the movie a chance. If she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. That's fine. I'm not gonna hold it against her. But there's so many people who went in with a certain set of expectations, and when they weren't happy with the movie that they were thinking that they were gonna get in their head, then it's oh well, the movie is awful. And because Batman isn't who Batman is in their head, then it's a terrible interpretation of Batman. Or because Superman has emotions, and in their eyes Superman should just be perfect and be the Christopher Reeve era Superman again, then he's always gonna be an issue in their eyes. So that's why I can look at what's coming with Justice League, and I'm honestly, this is still continuing that universe. So for all the people who are saying, oh, this is an awful Batman, this is an awful blah 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 blah, this universe ain't going anywhere anytime soon. They're doing Aquaman, they're doing Wonder Woman 2, they're doing all these movies. You either get on board or not. It's really that simple. Because you really with these people who constantly bash the DC films, it's okay, you can have some valid criticisms, again, that's not our issue. The issue is when you, honestly, when you act like an entitled child, and you're acting as if, it's, hurt you in some way. I can understand, being let down in some degree because of, these are characters that you love, okay, whatever. But when you're acting as if, a part of yourself is, or, your life has been destroyed because Zack Snyder made a movie you didn't like, that's when I'm okay, you honestly need to grow up, and if you don't like it, you need to move on. That's when I'm okay. It's just...
Yeah, I just don't enjoy that much negativity in my life. I don't understand why they make it their purpose to go out and, bash things or track down people who like it, or see a comment that comes back where they like it and then be sure to tack on their 2 cents and stuff. I don't get it, simply because that's a lot of negativity to have in your life all the time, and I really don't need that. So it's just not me, because it's oh gosh, it's draining. It's too draining for me, and it definitely makes your life a little bit more miserable, and I don't feel like doing that. So it's much more fun to find the stuff you love and just get really excited about that.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's got to be a point where the tide turns, and the entire public opinion just all of a sudden goes, guys, are you okay? Really, you spend a lot of this this stuff is so virulent and so dysfunctional, and at a certain point I feel the public opinion has to turn to you're still complaining about this? Is everything all right? Do you need our help? What's happening here?
And
you need therapy? You need drugs?
I know.
You need talk? You need a hug?
Because I think a lot of it is like if people see that stuff online, they're like, oh, they're just talking about movies, so it's not that big of a deal. But like honestly, like it's unhealthy the way people continue to bash the films and bash Zack, and I'm like, much like what Katie's saying, look, why can't you just spend time talking about the things you do enjoy? Like, why do you... Mm-hmm. And, like, that's what, like, the one thing I saw recently was someone made, like, a list of, like, the 5 types of people they hate, and, like, it was, like, Nazis and DC film fans. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
like,
they were calling them the most toxic groups on Twitter or something to that effect, and it was like, are you kidding me? You're lumping us in with Nazis? Thanks.
Because honestly,
I
people
don't
see to see
particularly
how...
view myself as a Nazi, but, you know,
maybe
I need to reassess.
That's why it's impossible to take those people and their opinions seriously when they compare us to Nazis like that. Like, first of all, that comes from like when it's because they say stuff like that. That's why we become so defensive. Like, if you just leave us alone and just let us enjoy the movies we love, then none of this, like, you wouldn't be bothered by us. We would leave you alone. Like,
exactly.
Well, it's one thing to talk about the films. If you want to talk shit about the films, do that for 100 years. I don't care. It's your time. You can spend it hating something if you want to, but it's an entirely different thing when you're trying to cast aspersions on an entire group of people. Mm-hmm. And I feel this way about Batman vs. Superman feedback as well. Like, if you want to talk about how the movie didn't make sense to you, or how stupid the ending is, I'll be way more patient with that than if you're saying, like, you know, Zack Snyder is the devil incarnate, and, you know, just all the smearing. Like, half of the stuff I don't even like to repeat because it's so gross, and it's not personal. Like, at a certain point, like, I never thought I would get to a point where, as a fan, I would, like, approach someone who even didn't, like, not part of my fandom and say, you know, it's just a movie, right? You understand that it's just a film, and that at the end of the day, like it's not worth being a shit person over it.
Yep. Completely agree.
Yeah, and I think it's really hurtful, and especially to the fans, because I think that they're not really necessarily, like, a lot of DCEU fans are not necessarily prepared to field that kind of stuff. Like, mm-hmm. I think that it's really hurtful to, especially the younger fans, that I get really, really protective toward, because it's like, they're not prepared to field this kind of stuff. They're not prepared for someone to be like, well, you guys are the scum of the earth, and you guys are no better than Nazis, and all of this stuff.
Because you like a movie, you know.
They don't know how to compartmentalize that yet either. Like, you're talking about young people, like, you know, and that really pisses me off. Like, I have a hard time with that.
Totally agree. It's not okay, and it's a really, really embarrassing part of our society that we've reached this point, you know?
Super embarrassing.
Where we're just willing to call people garbage because of a thing they like, you know? That's weird.
Yeah.
This is weird. You know, it doesn't bode well, and it's definitely not a healthy thing. And, I don't know. It's just wild. And I admit, like, you're right, Danielle, I've always been the... Everybody should have their own opinions kind of person, and, you know, it's totally cool, your opinions are valid, but I admit I have no more patience after how long has it been since Man of Steel? 4 years? I have no more patience anymore, because it's all the same recycled basic words, and it's all the same whiny complaints that really indicate they didn't watch the movie, and or they're just jumping on the bandwagon because it's the quote cool thing to bash on these movies. And it's sad, but I'm so out of patience. I won't listen to anybody anymore because it's tiring. It's just the same crap recycled around, and it's like, oh, this again? Oh, I'm bored. You know, I don't have the time to listen to it anymore. So I applaud you for being willing to listen to people and their dislike, because I simply have found myself, my patience is exhausted, and I don't care anymore. I don't care if you don't like the movie. I don't give a rat's butt. It's fine if you don't. Go ahead and not like it somewhere else, out of my view shot, out of my earshot, and leave me alone so I can sit in the basement and enjoy it again. You know, do you know what happened last night? Do you know what happened? Okay, you know what happened yesterday? We did the Wonder Woman commentary, okay? Like, when we got home and I raced in here to do it, my daughter watch Wonder Woman 2. I'm like, sure, that's cool, come on down. But she never did. We started the commentary, we did the commentary, watched the entire freaking movie, did the commentary, she never came down, and then I went up and was like, what happened? I thought you were coming down to watch it too. And she was like, oh, well, you seemed really stressed, and I didn't want to interrupt, and so I just stayed up here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And she's like, and I do still really want to watch it. And I was like, okay. So we went back downstairs and watched the freaking movie again, her and me, just so she could see it. And I was like, man, I'm enjoying it just as much as I did the first time. Like, it's ridiculous and a little bit embarrassing that I'm willing to watch these movies over and over as much as I am. But you know what? That's what happens when you truly enjoy something. It's okay. I admit that freely. I'm fine with watching these movies thousands of times. And that just means that I love them. It's okay. And I really would appreciate it if anybody else who doesn't love them would just trot on and keep moving and go find something that they do love. Surely there's got to be something out there that they adore, right? That they love this much. So, yeah, I laughed, though, because I'm like, yeah, okay. And downstairs we go. So, anyway.
In the times like this, it is especially good to see that the cast of Justice League is like a voice of our fandom. They started defending Zack, telling people what we've been telling for a very long time, that it was meant from the beginning for this trilogy to rise up in the meaning of the tone. I mean, Batman v Superman is called Dawn of Justice for a reason. There can be a dawn without it being dark in the first place. And so it was this movie about how Superman was the first superhero who showed himself to the world, and he rised up out of this darkness. He took Batman with himself. He helped Wonder Woman to rise again. And now in Justice League, all of these other superheroes are going to come out into the light because they realize that this world needs superheroes. And it's just baffling how others can see that beauty of this trilogy.
It's such a beautiful thing, and I agree. It was so delightful just to see people come out in defense of Zack, especially people who are in the know. Like, we can defend him all day long, but in the end, we're fans, and people go, oh, what do you know? You're not in on it. You don't know. You're not there. And that's a legit point. Like, we try hard to keep our facts straight here, but we're not there. We don't really have the insider scoop, and it's so nice to see people who have been in it, and actually worked with him go, oh, yeah, no, that was the plan. It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm stoked. I am stoked and excited. I cannot wait to see this film. And I just need it to come faster. And a trailer is good, but it's just going to get me more excited to see it. Like, even that behind the scenes little thing about the car, I'm like, oh, I need to see this movie right now. It just gets me, that's what they want, but this gets me so excited. I cannot wait to see this film.
Yeah, and speaking of the trailer, like, the Justice League Twitter just posted an image saying that the trailer is coming 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. And
ooh. I can get up early and watch that.
Unfortunately, I can't. I'll probably have to watch it a couple hours later because I'll probably still be asleep because my little brother is staying over. So.
Oh yeah, you'll be asleep.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll be dead asleep. Well, because the same thing happened with not the Comic-Con trailer, but the trailer before that, where like I woke up and like the trailer had already been out for a couple of hours, and like my fiance was still asleep, and I was like waiting for her to wake up so I could do the trailer reaction. I'm like waiting. And then she wakes up and she's like, "What are you like?" I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "The Justice League trailer dropped." And she's like, "Just do it already. What are you waiting for?" I'm like, oh.
You're like, "Because my screaming might wake you up, man. I'm trying to be considerate."
No, and then so we do. So I'm about to watch. I'm watching the trailer, and then she comments after. She's like, "You looked happier watching that than you did when you proposed to me." And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. It's just like it's. I couldn't come up with a real defense because like it's. I mean it's hard to explain like level of excitement for like a fan experience, something you've been waiting for your like entire life for, something like as like a fanboy kind of thing. But then like when there's a different type of feeling like when I proposed to my fiance. Like that was like life nervousness. That was like real life like I knew she was gonna say yes, but like there's still like that nervousness of being around a bunch of people getting down on one knee and like waiting for a response. Like that was like one of the most not like nerve-wracking, but that was one of the most like, emotional moments of my life. And then, because like a week and a half later was when the Justice League trailer dropped, so like it was still like fresh in her mind. So,
you're like, no, it's two different things, man, and in a way it is, it totally is. So it means nothing, honey. It doesn't reflect badly on you, I promise.
Oh no, I know that's what they're trying to explain to her, and that's like, I think she was saying it to give me a hard time, but still, like, I understand that, like, I just look like a giddy little kid, because that's the thing is that like these movies make me feel like a little kid with that level of excitement again, and that's where like that ultimately came from. So like. Especially like when I was at Comic-Con at the DC booth watching the Comic-Con trailer with all those people, like that was the same kind of feeling. I felt like a kid. Like I was able to like shout and scream and be like like as the trailer was going on. It was just like it's that level of excitement I don't have for very many things. So like when I have that kind of level of excitement for something, it's like it's real and it's like especially like for Justice League in these films like. I grew up loving superhero movies. Like I started out with like my first experience of superhero movies or superheroes in general was Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie. That made me like obsessed with Spider-Man, and then Superman Returns came out, and that's what got me into Superman. And like now as an adult, like it's funny at the time I was like by the time I'm like 18 or an adult, like I'll be long over superheroes. I'll be like, oh my god, how much of a nerd I was back then. Fast forward to me being 22, and these movies have like consumed my life. Like now to the point where like one of the times I was visiting my future in-laws, we were out like Party City getting something to have, like because we're having like our engagement party up there because they live in Northern California and we live in San Diego and we were visiting them. And we go to Party City and I see they have like a Batman v Superman like party cup for like $1, so I get it, and now that has become my cat's favorite cup. And my cat's a very like picky. He's a very picky kitty, and he's only ever drinking out of one cup the entire time we've had him, and he's never like any other cup. He only when he's absolutely had to has he drank out of anything else. But we put that cup there when we were gone for like a few weeks ago, and that has now become his favorite cup, and he doesn't want to ever leave it. And once I noticed that he was doing it, I'm like, he has good taste. And like that, and that's why like to kind of have this circle back around, like my level of excitement for Justice League is just, it's so like it's through the roof. Like even though like I was kind of hoping that the Comic-Con trailer would be the last trailer because that was everything I would have wanted in a Justice League trailer, with teasing Superman Return but not explicitly showing it, showing Steppenwolf, all those things that we were talking about right before that. But now, like, we're gonna get another one, and I'm like, what more can they do that is gonna make me more excited, Because now I'm at the point where, like, I don't know if I want to see more, but I do want to see more because I'm worried about getting spoiled, and I'm just like, all those emotions that are coming, like, right before you see the movie, I'm feeling right now.
Yep. I'm really hoping that, Wonder Woman. They had the first trailer come out, which I particularly loved at Comic-Con, and then they had the second trailer come out, and that was good. I was down with that. And then the third one came out, and it was also good, but it was different. And I'm hoping that that's what we end up with Justice League 2, is that now that they've kind of teased the Superman in the second one, now they've kind of gone that direction. Now they're going to flip a little bit and show us a different trailer that doesn't focus on that so much and shows us a little bit more of the others, and I would be down with that simply because I agree. It's like don't do the reveal too soon, don't.
Well, because I think don't show anything too soon.
It's okay, it's totally okay, and just show me the awesomeness of the other ones because I'm here for them too. So let's do this, And I kind of hope that that's what they do. They find a little bit of a different tone and a little bit of a different focus.
Yeah.
It will be good to see more of supporting cast of characters as well.
Yeah, like hopefully like Lois.
I have a feeling that this new trailer its purpose is going to be to promote what Joss Whedon shot during his time as director.
I hope not, just because some of that is filler and it may not make for a great trailer,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I think that we're building toward. I think that if they don't have a lot of Cyborg in this trailer, then they're probably making a mistake. or Cyborg is just too central to the plot, which is what I have suspected for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
Is that the reason we're not seeing much Cyborg in these trailers is because he has a lot of scenes that are very spoilery.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the center.
Yeah.
But I think that we need like at least 15% more Victor and more we need. I mean, like, Barry has so much dialogue, and I think that we need to like turn up the volume on Cyborg just a little bit, at least to show us that like something is revolving around him, something is really central to that. And I think that they've shown they can do that artfully, because we've definitely been told in very explicit ways that Superman is going to be a big important part of this movie without ever using any of the footage that's clearly going to be spoilery.
Yeah. And that's where like I think especially because
this is alright.
Good.
Sorry. I think that then I agree with you, and I love Cyborg, and I'm really happy that they chose Cyborg to be part of this Justice League. And as you said, he is central to the plot, because it makes sense for him not to be shown. And I don't want anything of the plot to be shown at all, because I know that he comes from a mother. He doesn't come from a motherboard, but the box, is it a motherboard or a mother box?
It's the mother box.
It's a mother box.
I could have sworn that he was created by a mother box in Batman v Superman. Am I wrong? Or because that's what it looked like to me.
We saw a snippet of it. Yeah. He comes from a mother box.
So he's like a hybrid. Him what he is.
Yeah.
He's a hybrid. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the main, as far as I can remember, the main part of this whole movie is to get all three mother boxes with the Amazonians and the Atlanteans, and then obviously the one that Victor ended up merging with, or the one that made Victor who he is. So I don't think in the trailers they can actually put that much, but I know that he is central to the plot, so I'm happy that he is, and he's such a great character to deal with as well. But in all honesty, my personal opinion is I don't really want to see any more of Steppenwolf, or I don't want to see anything of Superman, because when I go into the movie, I want to be able to see him for the first time since Batman v Superman and be completely awed by it. I don't want anything in the trailer to give me any expectations. Obviously his suit hasn't changed and he hasn't changed, but it's just the whole setting of him and the dynamic that he's going to have with the rest of the team. So to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the trailer, don't get me wrong. I saw the car scene today in the morning when I was going to the hospital, and I was just like, wow, I am really looking forward to this movie, and it was barely nothing. But I never used to be like this. I used to be a person who loved spoilers. Give me all the spoilers you can give me. I'm usually like this with TV shows that aren't really, really important to me. But with this movie and with this universe, I'm becoming more and more, don't spoil it for me. I don't want to see everything, just because I want to feel it all in one go in the first screen that I watch, and then I want to feel it like every time I go after that. So that's just my opinion on it. But I do agree with you, and it would be great to see a bit more of Cyborg, but I don't think they can, because of how intertwined he is with the plot and the main story. If that makes sense.
No,
This is true.
No, I totally get that.
Even if they just give us some lines of him and Diana first talking, when she tries to recruit him, or you know what I mean? Like, I honestly, I'll take anything with Victor. I would like more of him. And
I mean, I think they.
And I agree. I think he's central. But if there's just even little tidbits here and there, I would take all of them. So I would just like more.
I think they tried when he was sat in the bat. What is it? The fly?
No, or is the night crawler? That was the one.
Thank you.
The Nightcrawler. And when he was speaking to Alfred, and then Alfred was just like, "Who is this?"
I know.
That was hilarious, and it was like so simple as well.
And that's why, like looking at like Ray Fisher on social media and seeing him in person, like he embodies everything I think Cyborg is supposed to be. Like, I honestly, and I had no idea who he was before they cast him in this movie, because I think he was mostly a theater actor. But honestly, looks-wise, voice-wise, and just personality-wise, I don't think they could have gotten anyone else to better portray Cyborg, honestly.
Yep.
His level of excitement has given me so much faith in him. Like, honestly, like, it's the one, like, it's the thing, like, I have absolutely no doubts about Ray Fisher. And I think that that's probably, like, a bias, and that's probably, like, a weird way for me to judge these actors. But, like, that level of enthusiasm is what we got from Henry when he first started, and what we get from Amy consistently, and what we get from Ben when he's just like peeing his pants to get in the freaking bat suit. Like that's exactly what I want, and I think that it's super exciting to see that from Ray, and it's really gratifying as a fan to feel like that role is in really good hands because it's with someone who really wanted it really badly.
Yes,
and
totally agree.
And he seems like one of us in a weird
really
way.
Yes.
He seems like he could be me, but like me with Aquaman. Although I'm primarily Batman, but if I was ever cast as something like that, I think that's how I would be like. And I feel like he's reining himself in. That's what it is. I think he's reining himself in, because if it was me, I'd just be like, yes, guess what, guys? I'm Cyborg, or I'm Batman, or whatever it is, every day. Just
wake up every morning and tweet, hey, I'm Cyborg.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly,
and I will say, have you guys seen that little tweet video when he and Ezra get their action figures?
Oh,
amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're like tiny little children. I love them so much. I mean, they're just so cute. So yeah, their excitement and their, and especially him, he's all like, they got the sexiness, and Ezra's like, they got the sexiness, like, they're so cute. And I agree. It's just, I have no doubts about Ray either, and it's all been because of him and how he has interacted with this, and he delights me. So he's our little Ray.
Especially because the amount of like Borg Life shirts that he has, and like, and the way he's such like a, like, he is a fan. Like, even when he's like on stage at Comic-Con, he's like hyping up everyone, trying to get everyone excited. Like, being there. No, seriously, being there. And I've told the story a couple of times now, but like being there at Comic-Con when they all showed up to the DC booth, and just seeing him being like, people of Comic-Con, and everyone's like screaming. He's like getting everyone all excited. Like, it really, like, it's hard to put into words, but he really does an awesome job of just getting everyone excited. Even with like, even though he's not all that well known yet, honestly, after this movie, he's gonna blow up. Like, I honestly think he's gonna be one of the biggest highlights. Other than Ezra, I think he's gonna be one of the biggest highlights coming out of the movie, because
honestly, cut Ray Fisher a second check. Cut him that PR check. That's what I'm saying. He's been doing so much work, and like he's basically doing street work for Cyborg, and has been since day one. Like, that Borg Life hashtag is huge, and he just originated it. It wasn't even like a thing before he was like, hey, this is our new shit. Like, this is how we're gonna put this forward. And it's like, in some ways, like, I have more respect for what he's doing than a lot of the promo that came out, especially for Batman vs. Superman. Like, he knows what the hell he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, like...
it's like...
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
And going back to both of them together, now I agree with you, the Borg Life thing, I want that t-shirt too, and I'm glad that he made it, because it's black as well, so totally my thing. But I feel like Ezra and Ray, both as Flash and Cyborg, and Victor and Barry, will be literally the heart of the movie in terms of how the younger ones in the Justice League relate to the older ones. You've got Wonder Woman, who's centuries old by now, and she is, right?
Yeah.
She's at least a century old. At least a century. Yeah. So you've got Wonder Woman, who's centuries old, Superman, who's like 35, and then you've got Batman, who's 45. Let's give or take. So they're really old, and then you've got those two, and it's just such a nice bridge. How did I just forget Aquaman? I don't know how old Aquaman is, but
I have to admit, he has to be like 30 something.
I have been stunning Aquaman for the past, like, from the beginning of the podcast, and I'm not. No, how dare I forget Batman?
They've already got T-shirts out too. They had
where
was the only T-shirt at FYE, the For Your Entertainment video store has Aquaman t-shirts.
Oh, I've seen those. Honestly, I think you're right. I think those are like some of the best looking Justice League shirts they've made.
They're pretty good. They're really good, and actually they go up to a really large size, which is why I love them so much. Because everything for Wonder Woman is starts at like size 0 and goes up to like size it's rough. Like DC needs to figure that shit out.
But most of the time it's not
a sidebar.
Sorry, Danielle, isn't it? Most of the time it isn't actually DC. Like companies that buy the trademark off DC and then they do what they want to do with them.
It's the companies that they go through, I think. It's really consistent though. It's consistently that DC products have a very low top size, and I've never had that problem, honestly, with Marvel products, which sucks because most of them I don't want to wear. The Wonder Woman stuff was pretty uniformly hard to get into for anyone who's plus size, which sucked. There were a couple like exclusive things, and I think what they did with that special order store was really good. They had like a dedicated sort of like build your own t-shirt store for Wonder Woman, and I think that was a really good step forward, and I think they should do more stuff like that. It's just the price points on those things were pretty high.
Yeah.
We're I spend half my time combing through merchandise. It's like apparently one of my fan expertise things.
Yeah. And that's what, like, and I understand that
going
because
back
it's unfair.
to Ray and Ezra that were and Victor, if I remember correctly, weren't we told quite a long time ago that the Flash and Cyborg would very much form the emotional heart of this film?
I think so.
That's what I remember. Is that that they told us that, and it was like, oh really? And I remember they were like, Cyborg was fairly new to me then, and I'm like, okay, and just went with it. But then now a year has passed, and I'm in love with Ray. He's adorable. He's my son, and Ezra too. And so it's just like, oh yeah, I can completely see how these two, with their youth and kind of introducing them into the Justice League. Like, we don't even get an intro movie with them before, which is just fine with me, by the way. And, but they're really going to have a chance to bring them in, focus on them a little bit more, because a lot of the other ones have already had some focus, and then really make them the heart of it. I am totally here for that. And we can't leave out Aquaman either, because he's awesome. But, then we're going to get his movie too, and I'm there for that. So.
Oh my god, guys, I don't even understand where my love for Aquaman's come from. I'm a huge Batman fan, so like, guys, Artem, you're a Superman fan, and so is Nick primarily. So each one of us has like a main character in the DC that they stand for a lot, and mine is Batman all the way. But for some reason, Aquaman. Why? How?
It's funny,
just Jason Momoa, and the way that they've turned him into something that's completely mesmerizing. Not because I have a crush on Jason Momoa, not at all. But it's just the way that they've transformed this character. Obviously, I've gradually liked Aquaman through the comics and the way that Jeff Johns has written him and his character in the Justice League comics. I think they're just called Justice League, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember have any other name. The ones that Jeff Johns
wrote in the New 52.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how I love Aquaman. And anyone who says anything bad about Aquaman in real life, I'm just like, let me just hold that there. I'm not gonna sit there and go crazy.
That sounds really familiar, Fema, because actually all through my youth, Superman wasn't my deal. I didn't really care much about him. Batman was my guy. He was always my guy. And it wasn't until Man of Steel that suddenly I'm like, whoa, why do I suddenly care about Superman so much? And it is, again, Henry, the way he embodies the part, the way they've created Superman, and in this particular iteration, and everything about him just speaks to me. So I think you're running into the same thing, and that's awesome when they're creating characters that you never cared about before, and then suddenly you're like, whoa, I'm really into this one. That means they're doing something right that connects with you, and that's awesome.
You know, it's funny, we're just talking about how much of a hype man Ray Fisher is. So, because the Justice League Twitter page just tweeted about the trailer being on, coming on Sunday morning, and then Ray Fisher just tweets, yeah.
He's just so cute. I just really love him.
And that's what, like, one of my favorite things about Comic-Con was the fact that he was wearing an I Heart Zack Snyder t-shirt the entire time.
Yep.
Oh my god, yeah.
We need that shirt, and I was so proud of him. I was like, you're a good boy. That, and he tweeted something, like, I guess they were on the Comic-Con bus. That's what he called it. So I'm assuming it's like where they all ride in it to the center or something like that. And he looked out on the sidewalk and saw a guy and his daughter both dressed up as Cyborg. Freaked out, made the bus stop, got off, a selfie with them, and then put it on Twitter. It was like, they look great. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
He's perfect. You know, he's so excited.
He's so humble, and he's just
so supportive. Yeah, see, he's very humble, and I totally appreciate him.
And that's what I honestly like. DC needs to greenlight his movie right away. I know they announced it like way back when, but there's been like little to no development on it ever since. And I know they've been a little trepidatious lately about announcing certain films. But honestly,
right after Justice League.
Yeah, see,
I need a green light on like 7 films. That's what I need from them. Like I'm giving them patience until Justice League. I'm giving them my patience, and I'm saying, you know what? Stuff's gonna unfold, and I get it. You want there to be tension. You want there to be suspense. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. But y'all need to, right after Justice League, you know, get on it. I want at least 5 films.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying. Just 5. At least 5 films.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. And I really feel like Cyborg right now, they're waiting to see how he is received.
Yeah.
They're waiting to see what the fan reaction is, what, you know, if he becomes like one of the favorites of the film and stuff like that, and then they might feel secure in greenlighting a film for him. But I agree. I'm like, chop chop, guys. You know, I'm ready for it. So I just hope the rest of the world follows suit and they go, oh yeah, we need to do that because I would really like it. So yeah,
definitely.
And
oh god, guys. Guys, I'm looking forward to it because I know it's literally a month and a bit away.
Yeah.
But then after this month and a bit, like we're gonna have 18 months or however long until
months.
Aquaman. Yeah. Is it 2019? Is Aquaman 2019?
I
thought it was 18.
It's December of 2018.
So
it's the only movie.
Well, that might as well be 2019 because that's another 12 months on top of the 3 here anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be so sad because we won't have any DCEU movies.
I know,
and we've gone through this before too. And I do remember the drought that was the space in between Man of Steel and Superman. It was like, wow, we'll just
that felt like the longest like 3
and this
years
is one of the reasons that Justice League needs to be so meaty, and that we need a legit pure Zack Snyder vision, because we need to have something that we can literally pick apart for 18 months, and that's going to be a challenge.
You are right. You have an excellent point. Yep.
Yeah, and then that's what
I really hope for that.
Yeah,
and then I'll suck it up and wait, you know. James Wan has been really excited about Aquaman, and he has really been supportive of stuff, so I think he'll do a good job, and it's just a matter of sucking it up and waiting.
And I think they're actually about to finish up principal photography on Aquaman, actually, like within the next couple of days, I think, yeah.
You're right, they should be pretty close, huh?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even mind waiting for the Aquaman trailer for a bit. Honestly, I just want to get a full look at Atlantis or Aquaman and Mera together, because we haven't really seen any of them. We've seen the one image from Zach of Mera. We've seen the trailer with her in it for a second, and then we've seen the one image that James Wan posted, and then we've seen some behind the scenes stuff. I just want to get a good look at Arthur and Mera together, because we've had the one behind the scenes still of James and Jason and Amber, but I just want to get a good look at the next big DCEU power couple, because I think also Jason Momoa's, no pun intended, is gonna blow it out of the water. He's gonna. I think he's gonna do an amazing job, especially because of the way that they turned Aquaman from the poster, white man, blonde hair, blue eyed, built up physique kind of guy, to being a person of color. I think that's one of the best choices the DC production and Warner Bros. Have ever done.
Yep, agreed.
And I think with Juan on the project, we're bound to see something that's something totally new, and I think that's really exciting because a lot of times, like, I mean, you can see it in the Justice League trailer predictions, is that like a lot of fanboys are just sort of like, well, this will be exactly like a Justice League cartoon, and basically, if you don't follow the comics for Blueprint, then I'm not in, and it's like, but like that at what point does that get kind of predictable? At what point do you kind of go, oh, well, it's this comic, so I know how this comic is going to go? Yeah. And I think that the opportunity with Aquaman is so beautiful because, like, we know that something really cool and unique and different is going to come out of this film because of the casting choices, because the director is a non-traditional superhero director, and a lot of reasons, a lot of things that have been done so far have told us that, like, I have probably more hope for Aquaman than I have for anything that comes afterward, and I hope that wave of hope kind of like continues.
Agreed. Yeah.
As details come out on these movies and start like getting me interested in projects after Aquaman, because I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna hang in there till Aquaman, and then we'll see what they do.
Yeah. Agreed.
And even though, like, it does... You can go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just going to mention, I would love to see the Flash movie because Ezra's doing it, and I like his Barry. But it's had such a troubled production already, and stuff that they still haven't announced the director, have they?
Nope.
Like, they still, and so I'm just like, that is one of okay, we'll have to wait and see type of thing, simply because it's been so up in the air for so long. But I have no doubts that Ezra will do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, can they find a director? Can they get this off the ground? Can they do it well? So, yeah.
And that's where, like, I think... Well, because there's been a lot of rumors about the director of Flashpoint or whatever they... Because I think that it's pretty clear that Flashpoint is the movie that's Ezra's first movie. But because I think for a while now they've been in talks with Robert Zemeckis to be the director, which... Maybe he's not my first choice, but because of the nature of the story and the fact that he's done, like Back to the Futures 1, 2, and 3, it's because of that that I'm like, you know what? He wasn't exactly my first choice. I would have liked Rick Famuyiwa, but Rob, for the time travel aspect of it, I'm okay with him as a choice. If that's
I would agree with that. Some people cannot do time travel well, and he has a track record of being able to do that, so that would work.
Especially if you look, even though I know that Back to the Future 2 is like the least well received of the three, I do think that, like, because that was kind of like an example of like a Flashpoint-ish kind of story where, like, you change one thing in the past and then the whole timeline screwed up. And he did that. I think he did that fairly well. And up until recently, I thought that all three were received very well. And I thought, hey, these are all great movies. And then, like, I saw, like, people were like, oh, Back to the Future 2 is just an awful movie. I'm like, what? Since when? Like, I always thought it was a great movie. Like,
honestly, there's always gonna be those. There's always those that, oh, that was terrible. And you're like, really? So, but I agree. It was the darker one of the trilogy, of course, but that tends to be the way trilogies go. The middle one tends to be the darkest. So, yeah. And we've already been through our dark, and now I'm ready for the grand resolution to be all sorts of awesome and hit me with Justice League action, and I'm so excited. I want this.
That's what's so confusing to me about proposing Flashpoint. Juxtaposed with Jeff Johns getting out there and being like, well, this is gonna be like, from here on out, the DCEU is gonna be super light and fun, and we're gonna focus on fun, and all these, like, sort of like, I don't know, like meaningless sort of buzzwords. That don't really necessarily, like, tell me anything about the actual direction. Yeah. And then he's like, guess what we're gonna do next? We're gonna kill the shit out of Barry's mom. And I'm like, what? Like, hold on. Like, is there anything about Flashpoint that's fun or uplifting? Or, because I know the story. I have not read the comic because I'm not, like, the Flash is not, like, my wheelhouse, but I know the story, and I saw it on the CW, and nothing about it was fun. I didn't have a good time.
No, it was not fun, and I will say...
At least not the CW. At least not the CW version.
The actual premise, if you respect the premise that this dude has to let a supervillain kill his mom to save the world, there's just literally like, how do you bring sunlight into that? How?
Yeah.
Well,
So I don't know. I mean, like we definitely didn't get the didn't get the Dark Knight Returns. From Batman versus Superman. But like, if you're gonna call it Flashpoint, if you're gonna have Jeff Johns working on it, I'm sort of like, what are you guys doing? Like at least paint it real. At least like be like, we're gonna go up into the light and then we're gonna crash down into the darkness again.
Yeah, that's why I honestly took his comments to his recent ones and was like, and just kind of chucked him to the side. It was like, we'll see, dude, we'll see. Because I don't really, you're right, it doesn't make sense. And it's like, okay, we'll just see what happens, dude. But I will say, if he's determined to go that way, that would be the fastest way to lose me. Not because they would be terrible movies, but just because I appreciate the gravitas and the seriousness that comes with this universe. You know what I mean? I appreciate the real stakes and the collateral damage and the fact that not every choice is easy. I appreciate that. And so if they just started to gloss over it and go the Saturday morning cartoon route, then that would be one of the fastest ways to lose me, because it
Saturday
has lost
morning cartoons, but your mom dies. Like, that's the thing that throws me off. Like, Saturday morning cartoons, but the biggest tragedy you can imagine. For real? For real? I mean, like, I don't think that what's being said is congruous with what looks like the plan.
Yeah. I think, honestly, everything that Jeff has been saying is just Warner Brothers trying to do damage control and trying to keep good PR. I don't know if that's necessarily is the plan, because I don't mind necessarily lighter films, like, I'd still debate Man of Steel is a light film. It has a lot darker themes, but
I didn't think that was horribly dark. Agreed.
I didn't think it was dark
like that. I'd still be here.
Really at all. Yeah. Like, there was dark aspects to it, and there were some more like realistic instances in that movie. But I don't necessarily call it dark, and that's where like people were saying like, "Oh, thank God, Justice League is the DCEU movie we're waiting for in terms of tone." I'm like, it's gonna be lighter, but again, that was always the plan. Like, I don't get sometimes I just don't get Warner Brothers and their mentality of trying to like get good press for the DCEU, because like seriously, it's like you guys are honestly kind of saying the wrong words in the press in some instances. like stop saying fun and light. Like just make your movies the way you're gonna make them. I know you got a lot of bad press for Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Okay, whatever. You're getting off of a high off of Wonder Woman. Okay, stop saying that. Like, oh, it's gonna be fun. Like, just the way you guys want it.
Stop making promises, man. Just do your thing. Just do your thing. It's okay. Just do.
I don't think he's actually. I think he's just saying it just to like ward people off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't think. See, I love Jeff Johns, so I don't know.
I mean, I have nothing but respect for the guy.
I don't think he's saying it. I just don't think he legit means it in the way that the newspapers are interpreting it, if you get what I'm saying. Well, not the newspapers, but the blogs are.
The press, yeah.
I think what he means by a lighter tone or more fun, it'll be showing the different characters that you have and the contrast that you have between them. Obviously, Batman's never going to be light in tone, and Man of Steel, because you will be getting another Batman, because Matt Reeves is working on that right now, whether people like it or not, sorry. Yeah. But that will never be light and fun. But then when you get Aquaman, it won't be as dark as Batman, because you've got the sea, it's blue, you've got all of these colors and the coral. So in that way, that tone will be nice and fun and fresh. But obviously, you've got Jason Momoa as Aquaman. How fun can Jason Momoa as Aquaman be without it looking too comedic or parody-ish? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like without it being like
slapping him on the table and then taking his booze. That's hilarious to me. So
I mean, like how you know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do.
You're the people that do superhero movies as well.
Yeah.
They do it in a bit of a cringy way. The other team, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't think that you can really do that with Jason Momoa. So I think what he means is you'll get a lighter tone across the board because of the different contrasts that you'll get by having so many different superheroes.
I think that illustrates a really interesting problem that we have with this discourse, and I think that discourse meaning like the way that we talk about these films, and I think that we have a really hard time because of the way that bloggers have treated this film and because of the way that they're talking about this film, distinguishing between color palette and tone. And that's something that Affleck has commented on. I think it was the smartest thing that anyone's literally ever said in that, like, the people, like, everybody who's involved in it, of everyone who's involved in it, I think it's the smartest thing that anyone's ever said about the backlash, which is that we have two different distinct kinds of tone happening here, and we have no idea which one Jeff is referring to. Is he talking about the color palette? If he is, awesome, okay. Definitely the color palette was, like, very, very dark for a long part of the trilogy, and I think that Justice League is not going to be, you know, sunshine and daisies as far as color goes. But then we have the other part of tone, which is like the story you choose to tell and how it comes across, and whether or not we're going to have superheroes keep being brought to their knees, and if we're going to deconstruct them every single time, or if we're going to construct a universe in which, you know, we have this episodic feel where everything's a little bit happier. And, you know, I mean, I think that on a certain level, a lot of people who are complaining just want to see everyone smile all the time, which is just eerie and creeps me out. But, like, I'm giving Jeff the benefit of the doubt because, like, I don't have a lot of loyalty in any direction besides in the Snyder direction. Like, I have loyalty to Zack, but everybody else in from my view hasn't done much for me. Hasn't done anything that would warrant any kind of real loyalty in that direction. But I think that giving Jeff the benefit of the doubt, I mean, like, we probably are talking about, like, the color palette. We probably are talking about, like, what a little bit of what we focus on. But I think that tonally, like, if you're planning Flashpoint, you're going to have a roller coaster for tone. You're gonna have Aquaman goes up an inch, and Flashpoint takes us directly back down again.
Yeah. And that's where, like,
unless we change Flashpoint fundamentally, which is totally on the table and totally a possibility. And
it is.
I would be kind of down for it because there are a lot of things in Flashpoint that I would edit out completely.
Okay. I see that. The biggest problem is that when a creator creates a story, often they're very loyal to it. And so with Jeff Johns being involved, it may be hard for him to pull away far enough to go, okay, let's change some things up here.
Exactly.
You know, or he might be able to. I don't know him that well, so I don't know how devoted he would be, you know, and that's okay if he is, but, like, I agree, it's on the table. I just don't really know if he would do it or not, you know, but in a lot of ways, I don't know. I find Flashpoint interesting simply because Barry, even in Justice League, everything we've seen is very, well, adorable, but he's funny, he's light, he's, you know what I mean? He's very much the youthful kind of pep and happiness that comes along. And yet he does have this dark past. We've seen his father in prison. We know he goes to see him and stuff like that. So he is a really awesome dichotomy and a really awesome possibility for displaying kind of like a Robin Williams, where you have that person on top who's just so light and happy and seems to lift everybody else around them, but also has this really dark part to them that they typically don't show a whole lot, you know, that they just deal with and is always under the surface. And that, if they could do it right, would be a really fascinating and neat take on that character and just a really awesome depiction. I would love that. But I admit they'd have to do it just right. There's a fine, very difficult line to tread there, and they'd have to tiptoe along it. But if they could do it right, if they could get it right in the screenplay, I have no doubt that Ezra could pull it off.
Yeah, I trust Ezra with it.
Yeah,
I trust Ezra to walk that line 100%.
And so, I don't know. I'm torn because I'm really like, man, I want to see this. I hope they get it right. But another part of me is just terrified that they won't quite, you know, and that it won't be as good as it could be. And maybe this is just because I've been burned by the television show. I don't know. So yeah. Anyway.
And that's what,
their
like,
treatment of Flashpoint was just so fast and in one episode, and so it was like, what? You know, and they've already been just dragging through the emo for so long that, yeah, they missed the balance completely. And, you know, I was sad.
Barry is torn up, and I think there's a good reason why we're trying to like end up with different CW Barry. Like in the CW, I think like there's a reason that what they're doing right now is sort of trying to like reboot Barry. Just Barry, because everything else I felt like was working, but like it's really hard for me to get into West Allen lately because I don't like half of them. Mm-hmm. And the half I don't like is Barry freaking Allen. Like I'm like, you're just like, why does she like you? I'm confused. Like it's not. And the thing is that I adored Barry like the most. Like I was selling like for the first 2 seasons, I was selling Barry to everyone I knew. I was like, nope, this is how you're gonna get into superheroes. People who don't care about superheroes, you care about Barry Allen. You will, trust me. You're gonna watch 3 episodes and you're gonna be like, that's my son, and he's my pride and joy. And I was totally on board, and whatever they've done to Barry has torn him up completely, and I'm not. Yeah, it's hard.
Dragged him down to the mud and left him there, and it made me so bad. Like, guys, we get off the flogging, please. Just oh my gosh, let some happiness emerge. It got old. It got old really fast, and I kind of checked out emotionally because I was like, I got nothing left for this,
Yeah. And that's why, like, again, I don't want to make this whole thing about dragging the CW Flash, but honestly, like,
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I agree with you guys completely, and that's where, like, I can't really, like, my hope for season 4 of The Flash is like my hope for season 4 of Arrow, where, like, after season 3, I'm like, I'm not ready to give up on this show. Where season 4 of The Flash, like, I'm like, it looks like they're making the same choices that they made in season 4 of Arrow. We're like, oh, see, we got the more comic book accurate suit, and it's going to be like a little bit more of a change to what you guys wanted. But then you end up getting a season where they did a lot of stupid things and they killed off Black Canary, and I'm afraid of what they're going to do with the 4th season of Flash. So they might kill off Iris.
I hear you.
I
don't totally hear you, and you're right. It feels like that. No, but see, every single season they've said that we're going to lighten it up. We're going to lighten it up. We're going to lighten it up. So we're going to lighten it up. Henry is toast. I knew he was going to die. I was so pissed. And, we're going to lighten it up. Flashpoint! Time to drag Barry down and make sure to punish him every single episode for every choice he ever made through the rest of this season. Yay! And in the end, it just was like, I don't believe them anymore when they say they're going to, because it gets a couple episodes in, and then they go, okay, we need a big conflict, and they find it, and it's always about Barry or his mistakes. Always his mistakes, and so they always end up dragging him down, and it's just like, I've checked out. I can tell I have, and I agree with you, Nick. I'm a little bit nervous. It's like, you tell me you're gonna happy it up, but I need to see the whole season before I can believe you.
I also wonder, having just thought about this, like, how much what's happened on the CW Flash is affecting the level of my cynicism when I approach Flashpoint in the DCEU.
I think a huge amount of it, because
a lot of my bitterness is transferring over, and not giving them necessarily a chance to really like pull it off in a completely different way, which I'm sure that they will do a totally different thing, and a lot of the things that they could do differently would be huge positive changes. It's just, I think I'm bringing a lot of my my bitterness.
Yes, and I totally understand that, and I had to deal with that as well. And it's nice that you can recognize it and go, wait a minute, because it's true. But you're right. The show treatment of it left me really bitter for a while too. And I think I mentioned this before, but I kind of set myself up for failure, so that was my fault. But but either way, there are other ways this story can be treated. It will never be light and happy, but there are better ways to treat the story to where it's more of a kind of, when it's over, you're at peace with it, instead of, completely ruined for life. And so there are different ways to handle a Flashpoint storyline, and I deeply, deeply hope that in the context of a film that they can find that proper balance, because it really felt like in the show, I wish they're kind of screwed because they can't take multiple, many episodes to kind of draw this out before people get really cranky and decide they want to be done and over with. And so they can't really get into depth like they should, and yet one episode was way too small. So there's really no happy medium there, and they just kind of had to pick one and go with it, and they picked the one that made me unhappy, But on a film, I really think that they could find a better way to treat the story, and you're never going to be like, yes, Nora's dead. Not ever, never. It is going to be tragic and sad. But I think that there's other ways they can handle it that you end the movie and you go, that was really good, and so that is what I'm hoping that they can do. I would really like to see their treatment of it and see if it is better in my eyes than the show.
Well, and I've been saying about Flashpoint since it was proposed that I would be totally open to hearing a version of Flashpoint as long as we revise the way that we've treated all of the female characters. Literally every single one. Every single one. We need to go back and we need to make a list of female characters, and Jeff Johns needs to sit down and say, okay, in what ways did I screw them? And how can I reverse it? Because I think we need to, that's the big thing for me. That's the sticking point. That could be, I don't know how an honest interpretation of what actually happens in the story with those female characters. I don't know how that would affect my enthusiasm for the rest of the universe, but I have a feeling it will have a negative effect. So I hope that I hope that they really take a close look at the way that they handled female characters in that particular story.
Yeah,
especially
which one? Sorry.
Which one are you talking about? First or
chiefly Nora, Lois, Mara, and Wonder Woman, if you want to get down to the basic list, but I think that anybody else is probably getting screwed over.
They even just kind of pushed Iris off to the side as well. She was pretty much non-existent in that, she was there, but she was married to some other guy and had no notice of Barry whatsoever, so they just pushed her out as fast as possible.
And they could have done something interesting with her.
Yeah, they could have. And so I agree with you there, and that could be really interesting. The Wonder Woman approach, isn't there I don't know all of this comic, but she and Aquaman are at war, right?
Yep.
Okay. What precipitated that? What started that whole deal in the comics?
Because so Wonder Woman and Aquaman had this forbidden romance kind of thing, and then
heck.
Wonder Woman.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So then flash forward to the modern day. Aquaman is with Mera, and then the Atlanteans and the Amazons are already kind of at odds, and then I think 'cause I can't remember exactly from the either graphic novel or the animated movie, but the animated movie, Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they're kissing or something, or they're about to sleep with each other, and then Mera sees them, and then Wonder Woman kills Mera and chops her head off. And that was one of the big things.
One of the culminating moments of Flashpoint, and the only reason I know this is because it's so it's a huge pop cultural moment, I guess, which is really irritating in the first place. Is Wonder Woman slicing Mera's head off and holding her decapitated head by the hair? That's one of the big images of Flashpoint, and I'm not for it. I'm not in especially leading up to. Yeah, especially leading up to the way that, leading up to it the way that it leads up to it. The choices that are made around Diana's character are just, they're just so typical. They're just so typical is the thing. What's really tiring about it is that it's exactly what everybody does with Wonder Woman when given free reign. And when I say exactly what everyone, I mean the dudes who want Wonder Woman to be something totally different from what she is.
That's ultimately how we get with the Injustice version of Wonder Woman, which I want to say this. So in a year where we get the awesome Wonder Woman movie, and we're finally Wonder Woman's it's her year to shine, we also get, I think, the absolute worst portrayal of Wonder Woman in media that we've ever seen in Injustice 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly how I feel.
Sucks.
The way that they portrayed her as just she's not Wonder Woman at all, and she's she's like pandering to Superman, and she's like, "Oh, Superman has to kill. He's weak if he tries to save lives and blah blah blah." I'm like, in what world is this Wonder Woman? Like, not even the whole Superman issue
there's
aside.
no natural progression. I mean, like, honestly, I think Superman gets better treatment in Injustice, which is crazy to say, I know. But I think Superman gets better treatment because at least you can see how impacted trauma and how a huge life event could cause some sort of, like, mental break for him. But we don't, with Wonder Woman, it's just like, but she's like super dick hungry or what? Like, stop doing this to her. Like, it's all about some male character every single time. And it's so tiresome and it's so exhausting. As a Wonder Woman fan, it's so exhausting because it's like, you can't think of anything else interesting about her, and it's abundantly clear that you can't think about anything else interesting about her except her utility to a male character, and that's so irritating. Especially considering, like, that's the exact opposite of her purpose. The exact opposite.
Who she is, exactly. And that's why, like,
it's frustrating.
I like the Injustice 2 story, like, for certain characters and, like, the gameplay and stuff. Like, that part's cool. But I absolutely hate what they did with Wonder Woman and Superman to an extent. Like, I know there's like some amount of growth by the end of Injustice 2 for story-wise for him. But again, in a year where we get an amazing interpretation of Wonder Woman in live action, they also give us possibly the worst interpretation of Wonder Woman ever. And I can't. and to me, that's not okay. Like, you like, it's like you said, like, Injustice, I feel like it's kind of pandering to, like, the dude bros who, first of all, they want Superman and Wonder Woman together just for the fact that they have kind of similar powers. And they make Wonder Woman this, like, again, it's just like, all she wants is to try to please Superman. And I'm like, what? Again, what version of Wonder Woman is this? It's not Wonder Woman at all. And she's like not even wanting to save lives. And I could go on about how much I hate Injustice Wonder Woman. But
I mean, if you want to take Wonder Woman, make her into like a quote unquote evil character. Like, give her own reasons. You know, for once,
like,
give her own reasons.
Because Superman's doing it, more or less. Like, they don't really say, like, her reasoning for that. Like, in the original Injustice game, you got, like, a bit of Flash's perspective where, like, hey, I thought we were all just trying to do the right thing. Criminals were being put away. Like, you got that. With Wonder Woman, it's just, like, she was trying to be there for Clark when Lois died, and then she kind of became power hungry, too. Like, that was just what you got. And then you explicitly say that, you know? It's, but one of the things I wanted to say to kind of revert back to Flashpoint, the one thing I can say is because of my distaste of the Flash season 3, that has almost made me more excited for Ezra's interpretation of the Flash, because, like, to me, when the Flash show started, I was, at the time, I'm like super excited because I liked his stuff in Arrow that he did when they were, like, trying to, like, when they first introduced him.
I was way into it, season 1 too. Yeah, I get you.
And, like, it was great, and, like, other than at the time, the Flash was like my second favorite character because I can relate to him the most because I think you guys know, like, I've lost my mom like a number of years ago, so, like, I can relate to Barry on that level. But as the show went on, it just became this, like, melodramatic, like, what the hell is Barry doing kind of thing. Where I'm like, I don't even like watching the guy. Like, I care more about Iris and Wally and Cisco than, like, Barry, and then Caitlin's storyline that's all over the place, where, like, the writers don't even know what they're doing with her, and it's just like,
oh, good gravy. Yeah, I stopped with her long ago. It's like, there's just
and so
I hear you. I do.
And that's why
it's
now
frustrating. And they keep making him make the same mistakes. I'm like, holy crap! Can he just learn a little bit?
I know.
Like, I know. Please. So
Now, I know we've been kind of, like, going back and forth, but, like, honestly, just before we end out here, because I know we'll probably have to end up finishing up at some point soon. What do you guys think we're gonna see from the new trailer on Sunday for Justice League? Like, if you guys each want to go around and talk about, like, the things you're expecting.
I honestly hope that, first of all, they should not show Superman at all, and if Justice League has a Green Lantern character, I hope they will not show him either. I just hope for more new footage of supporting cast of the characters. Like, first few trailers were concentrating on superheroes. This time I hope we will see more of other people, simple people, and how they were affected by death of the Superman, something like that.
And that's the big thing too. I don't think a lot of us want to see Superman just quite yet. I feel like they might try maybe tease him again, but also if they kind of go like with like the Wonder Woman marketing route, where like they didn't even show Ares at all until the movie. Really, I mean they kind of sort of.
It's true they didn't.
Yeah, like if they can do that, then I'll be happy. So yeah, I'll wait to share my thoughts. So whoever wants to go next.
I honestly, I totally agree. I don't want to see Superman. They don't need to even hint at him. They did enough of that already, and I'm satisfied with what I got. The first one was very much about the heroes and kind of the mother box idea. The second one was about Steppenwolf and Superman. And so this one, I really am more into, now that it's most likely a finished product or very close to being finished, like give me some smaller moments or more moments between them as a team, even just the 5. Give me more of Wonder Woman and Batman and Aquaman and the Flash and Cyborg all interacting together or fighting together or talking together, or I would really like just a little bit more focus on them, which is hilarious because it's not like they don't have plenty of focus, but I want to see how they interact, and I can't wait for the movie. So if they'd give me a little bit here, I would be ever so delighted.
Guys, is it only me, or I kind of didn't want any more trailers? That's how bad I didn't like. I don't want any more spoilers, or I want to just take it all in one go. And I mean, I really hope this is the last trailer, but I can see us getting like 5 different other ones.
We should get more TV spots, but I think this will be the last of the really big trailers. Am I wrong?
I hope
think
so.
That seems to be their method. That seems to be what they've been settling into.
Yeah, they do like 3 or 4 big trailers, and then they dwindle down to the TV spots, which are like mostly recycled footage from the trailers. And for me, like, I'm kind of with you, Fat Mo, where like I didn't necessarily want another trailer because I was so satisfied with the Comic-Con trailer, but
yes.
I'm also spoiled. We're like, just keep giving me more and I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
And I think I'm also with Katie. We're like, I really want to see more of the team interacting, whether like Ezra and Gal or Ben and Gal, or just like it's just seeing more of everyone. And I hope we get to see a little more of Lois and Mira, because they've only had like 1 split second of screen time each in the one trailer from earlier this year. So I hope we get a little bit more of them, because I know like Lois has to have some sort of role, especially if Superman's coming back. Like I need to see Lois and make sure that she's okay.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's like my big thing.
Okay. I think she's okay. I just think that most of her scenes might be with Superman, or might be with something that's really important to the plot, like the Mother Box. Remember in Batman v Superman how she was the one that managed to find Lex out, and we didn't get much of her in the trailers then either.
Yes.
And everyone thought that she didn't have a main part, but she literally was the one who brought the evidence towards Lex Luthor and got him into prison because she had it all there. I think it'll be the same with this, with Lois Lane, just like in the same way that Cyborg will be really integral to the plot. I don't know, because she might either be mostly with Superman or mostly like hunting down what the Mother Boxes are, or what are they that come through the portals?
Yeah, like
boom!
The parademons,
Okay.
or like yeah. Sorry. So I think she's either going to be like reporting on the parademons or sightings and things like that. I mean, yeah, I suppose that's fine because we've already seen the parademons in Batman v Superman, and we know that they're there for sure. But I don't know. I think that's why they can't really show much, because they don't want to fall back to that criticism that we got with Batman v Superman, with that last trailer that we got when Doomsday was shown. Obviously we knew that there was going to be a villain, but people were like, oh, you've shown me you've shown me everything, now I don't want to watch the movie because I've seen it in the trailer, and they've
saw it anyway.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree. Times.
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to be cryptic, just like, Christopher Nolan style, when none of his trailers gave you absolutely anything.
Yeah.
I think we know far too much already. I don't know. I have changed so much with DCEU. I just don't know. Like, I want to see things, and I get happy when I see them. But then at the same time, I was like, stop, because I have very little willpower. Because if they're out there, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's true. And we really no spoiler can really replace the feeling in the theater of sitting there, not knowing what's happening and experiencing it the first time.
Yep.
And you're right. I used to be a spoiler hog too, and I was unapologetic about it. But it really, I was kind of grateful that I went into Batman v Superman as ignorant as I did. Like, I saw trailers, but that was it. I didn't really follow any of the promo stuff. I don't know where I was, but I just wasn't paying attention. And it was actually wonderful because I just sat down and it played, and it was like, holy crap! And it's truly a wonderful thing. So I hear you. You don't want to ruin that experience if you possibly can. But when they put it out there, it's so hard to resist. So yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so.
Sorry.
I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so hesitant about speculating about these things and trying to guess what's going to happen in the film. Every time I do, I feel like I'm like sort of like speaking some sort of like terrible magic curse, and that I might be hitting on what exactly the plot is. And like I'm like even scared that someone's going to accurately guess the plot, and that hearing it will ruin like my experience of being totally surprised by the plot. Like, everyone told me before Batman vs Superman that Superman was going to die, and one of the best things that happened to me was that I didn't believe a single one of them. Yep. So like when he did, I literally am looking at a dead body going, well, so when's he going to get up? Because Superman doesn't die in this movie. What the fuck's happening? And like that organic reaction was something that, like, you know, if it would have been ruined for me, that would have been really, really sad.
Yes.
Guys, there was one thing I wanted to bring up during the podcast. Another major thing that came up as of late is that interview with Danny Elfman, where he said that he's going to bring John Williams' Superman theme back, but he will tweak it into a darker side. Yeah. He said that it will play during the moment where you will not be sure whose side Superman is on.
Honestly,
how do you feel that? Because since DCEU takes a realistic approach towards the superheroes, I think it will be logical for Resurrection to be not something so natural or without consequences to Superman's memories. Maybe he will have some memory loss or memory confusion when he comes back, and this is where Lois Lane comes into play to restore his memories back. And I guess that this is what happened in Batman's Nightmare, because Lois wasn't there, and when Superman was brought back to life, it was easier for Darkseid to influence him since his memory was confused. And now that we have Lois Lane in this timeline, this is how he will be back. And this is why so many speculations about the conflict of Superman with Justice League. It will be because he will be confused after Resurrection. Because seriously, a lot of fiction treats Resurrection in that particular way, that it's not something you go easy on. It will have something effect on you. And I think this is what we will see in Justice League with Superman when he comes back.
I mean, personally, I really hope not. I really don't. It's not what I want to see. And mostly because, like, this isn't a resurrection for me. And when I look at it, I don't necessarily see a resurrection happening. He's definitely coming back out of the ground because that's where they put him. But I mean, if you consult Jurgens, I think he would agree with me. He didn't die. I think that, we basically have, he's been underground, unconscious for a very long time, and that's bound to be disorienting. But I think that I know that the impulse is there to, have a big fight against Superman, and I really hope that the impulse is curbed. Honestly, I think that, I'm real weary. I'm just real weary of that from a Superman perspective. I just think that I also think that I don't know. I don't like the role that Lois plays in those situations either. it has a sort of Beauty and the Beast feel to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I totally see your point, and I have to agree. I'm not opposed to him being confused, but I feel like after Batman v Superman, which was epic and awesome, that there's no point in suddenly making him a threat and having them have to go up against him before they can then turn their focus back to Steppenwolf and all the parademons and everybody else in their dog who wants to take over Earth. You know, it doesn't really make sense to me. It seems a little bit too much, and so I kind of hope that impulse is curbed as well.
If they want to have them fight Superman, I'm totally down for that, but that is like a couple movies away. Because they have to love him first. When the entire Justice League is fighting Superman, the point is not, oh, Superman is so big and strong and scary. The point is everyone's heart is being broken. And if that's not actively happening, I'm not interested in a Superman versus his friends fight. I want everyone to be punching him in the face while crying. That's what I want. I want everyone to be emotionally destroyed by the idea that they have to maybe kill their friend Clark. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But why would they kill him again? We've already had him die. I am not seeing Superman die again. Okay.
No more.
Have problems
I agree.
with this
No more.
fear. I have problems with that whole scene because Superman died. I am not having him die again or like be beat up again. He has been hurt far too much. I know he's the Man of Steel. But I'm sure like. He feels those punches coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what, like, honestly, and to kind of go back to like the John Williams thing. Honestly, I thought we were past the Reeve era theme. Like,
gosh, I know.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that like I've seen like so many people being like,
really, Danny, we don't need this crap, you know.
I don't mind certain like callbacks to it, but you don't need to play the entire theme or like even like the main part of it. Because honestly, like, this isn't that Superman. I don't get what's I don't know what's so hard for people to process that. And it's like, not to interrupt, but like this is like really infuriating because I've seen so many people being like, oh yeah, you know, it's just DC honoring, you know, its past and blah 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 blah. I'm like, this isn't that universe. It's okay for Smallville to do that because Smallville was trying to beat in tone wise like that universe and took a lot of cues from that universe. This is something entirely different. Like, you can look at Man of Steel and there's a lot of Superman the movie Easter eggs in there, and that's okay, Easter eggs. But we don't need the theme from another version of the character in this. And like,
it's not him.
It's not.
It's not him.
Agreed.
Not to mention that Hans Zimmer's score is perfect already. Why change that?
Thank you, Artem. That's exactly what I was gonna say. He's already got a theme, and it's beautiful. We don't need to rehash and go to somebody else's theme, pull that, and put it in just for funsies. We don't.
This is the point, too. This is the point at which that theme becomes legendary. This is the movie in which that theme becomes the most exciting, like, it becomes linked with a really, really cool moment. And this is the time at which that Hans Zimmer score becomes like that big cool legendary thing that the John Williams score got a chance to be. And it's another thing where I feel like they're trying to rob the present. They're trying to rob the present in order to feed the past, and it's like, why? Like, all those people are gone. Who cares? Like at a certain point, like we're dealing with a whole new set of stories and a whole new set of like, you know, versions of the characters, and like I just don't see us doing that with anything else. I don't see us doing that with anything else. We wouldn't disrespect Ezra that way. Like, we wouldn't say like, oh well, you know, we better bring in some other Flashes. Like, no, this is his character. Have some respect for that. But Superman is a different category for everyone, and he always is. Like, he always is a different category for everyone. Everyone feels much more comfortable besmirching that, and it's annoying.
It's so weird.
And one thing,
and I gotta say, I'm kind of annoyed. Sorry, but I am kind of annoyed simply because I really feel strongly that, and this is not bashing him. I love him and I understand. But if Zach hadn't had to step down, I don't feel like that would have happened.
It wouldn't.
You know what I mean? Like, if Junkie hadn't been replaced, you know, Junkie XL, I don't feel like that would have happened. I just don't feel like the original runners of this would have been like, yeah, sure, that's a great idea. But now that Zach has had to step down and Joss is in place, now that Danny Elfman's been put in, suddenly everybody gets new great ideas, and now they want to do this. But this is never what the original artists intended. This was never their goal, and I just, I feel like
this threat has been personified through Joss, but I think we have to start admitting to ourselves that the problem is not necessarily Joss, and that Joss is probably doing exactly the work he was supposed to do and doing exactly the work that Zach asked him to do.
Do you feel it's studio?
It's Warner Brothers. Like, I think we have to get to a point where we start pointing the finger directly at Warner Brothers and understanding that their meddling is starting to become a problem, and that needs to be curbed back really hard, because it hurt the theatrical cut of Batman versus Superman, and I think it did hurt Wonder Woman in ways that are only theoretical for me. But I mean, like, I think that final cut was not. I feel it on a certain level that final cut was messed with, and I think that every final cut since Man of Steel has been messed with, and I think that's a problem. I think that, and this is extra intervention, and I think it's Warner Brothers.
I have to see your point.
And one of the things I also want to bring up too in Danny's comments, where he's talking about how, like, why is it okay? Let's look at Star Wars, the most iconic theme of all time, and then see, like, why is it okay? Everyone can keep the Star Wars theme when they reboot it, and Danny, I'm like, first I'm like, Danny, you realize they didn't reboot Star Wars, right?
No, they're just continuing it.
I know, like, there are new themes in there for sure, but...
Danny, you're a terrible nerd.
I'm glad you read it, Nick, because I honestly couldn't bring myself to. I saw that headline and I was like, I'm going to throw up, and then I just didn't even go near it, so...
First of all, that goes to show that he's not properly paying attention to these movies if he thinks that The Force Awakens is a reboot. And secondly, it's just, again, like, I don't mind the subtle nods, because there have been, like, other interpretations of, like, Superman and the Mythos where, like, they've played, like, a couple of notes of the classic Superman theme, but it's still, like, its own thing, and that's okay, that's fine, like, I don't mind that, but it's just this whole thing of, like, oh, I couldn't wait to play the Superman theme in Justice League. I'm like, this isn't Reeves' Superman. Like, I understand you're trying to honor the past, and you've been looking for an opportunity to play John Williams' Superman theme your entire life, probably, because you're probably, like, under Elfman, one of the most well-known film composers, and that's probably the one theme you've always wanted to do. But honestly, you probably should have tried to sign up for Superman Returns, because that would have been the perfect opportunity, because that was trying to be Reeves' Superman. This is something entirely different, and to me, that's where I get frustrated with this whole situation. I think you're right. I think it is more of Warner Brothers being like, you can do this because we're still trying to get good PR and get people to like our movies. And, our filmmakers aside, we just want to make money and for everyone to like our movies so we can make more money. I think that's Warner Brothers' mentality at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and this is the frustrating part, is that in the end, Danny, that's great if you wanted to play that and have always wanted to. This isn't about you. Like, in the end, it's your music, you're providing the music, stuff like that. But everybody, like, this is about the story and about the film. You know what I mean? Everything done should be in service of that. It should not be, okay, now I have a chance to go ahead and come in here and start messing around because I'm excited. In the end, like, you guys all remember Man of Steel when Clark is fighting the World Engine, and he's standing up, and there's that one moment where everybody just swears that Christopher Reeve's face is there.
Yeah, where he kind of looks like Christopher Reeve for a half second.
They said, no, that's not actually, that's not what happened. That's just, we shot that, and it just kind of looks like that.
Because they cast a guy who looks like Christopher Reeve. Like, fuck off.
And that right there is where, just in a split moment, just out of sheer, accident, we got this beautiful moment of the torch being handed over. However, it was not intended to be that. It was not purposely set up to be that. It was not edited to be that. It was just a really nice, happy accident. And that kind of thing I'm totally okay with, because often art will come back on itself like that. But you don't need to go in and disrespect a new product just to bring up the old one. That really irks me. It really does. I don't know if I can handle this in the theater. I might throw something. So I hope you're not in the theater with me, guys, because drinks will be flying.
What gives me hope is that Comic-Con trailer used Superman's main theme by Hans Zimmer, but a little bit remixed. So I hope it will be like Danny Elfman said, that this John Williams the theme will be brought back just once in the entire movie and just for a brief moment and no more. It will be even funny if it will start as John Williams' theme, but will transform into Hans Zimmer soundtrack. Like, a subtle way of them saying, sorry, that Superman is not coming back, we have our new Superman, and enjoy his soundtrack now.
Okay, now that I could get on board with, and I will say, that's what I've been thinking this whole time, is when he says, it happens at a key moment where you're not sure whether Superman is good, stuff like that, and I'm thinking, there's no way that they can descend into a fight with a confused Superman at this particular point, and it robs everything about his return that we want. So I've been thinking for a while now, it's entirely possible that he is slightly confused and they're wary and a little bit, oh gosh, this is gonna suck if this guy's not who he's supposed to be, and then he's there and it's all good and it's all sweet, and that would be fine. And I agree, that music would fit right there perfectly, because it'd be like, oh, you want somebody else? Sorry, nope, it's this one. That would be awesome, and I could be on board for that. But now if they don't do it that way, I'm gonna be cranky.
Yeah, I know Warner Brothers has been really finicky about what they've been doing in terms of expressing Zack's true vision lately. It sucks. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum for months now, but it's just, I want this movie to still at least maintain most of Zack's vision and not become this like metal thing that it's like you can kind of see Zack's, but if you see Joss, you can see Warner Brothers' hands in it. I don't want this to be this like convoluted mess of like what could have been, but Warner Brothers wasn't confident enough in Zack's ability to tell a story because they're too afraid it was going to be like Batman v Superman, where they were already nervous about his cut of it because they cut it to be something that wasn't his vision in the first place.
Yes.
So
he did an amazing job, by the way, and like when you compare the two, Zack did an amazing job sliding things together and making the theatrical version, and they told him to cut it down. I mean, he did a nice job, but it still suffered in the end. So, even though I stand by that version. Sorry, continue.
No, yeah, that's just all I had to say on that. It's just, I want Zack's vision to be there, and I want this to be fully like meddled in. And for what I've heard from the actors and stuff lately, it's still very much Zack's vision and Joss's reshoots. Joss's reshoots, honestly, from what they're saying, aren't nearly as extensive as people are reporting on, so that gives me a little bit of hope as well.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, man.
Guys, do you know when they do the promo and they do the red carpets and everything, are they going to have Joss Whedon sat next to our awesome and amazing Zack Snyder?
I bet that Joss isn't showing up at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that's been on the panels, on the Comic-Con.
I think that's a respectful thing to do. I think that and I think like here's the thing, like I'm not a Joss Whedon fan anymore, and I don't have a lot of faith in him on a lot of levels. But I do think he's a decent, respectful dude, and I do think that his instinct is going to be to back off in this project, and he's absolutely correct in that. I do think that I don't think so. I think that I would blame a lot of other factors if Joss started showing up to these things.
I don't think so, purely because I think that they got him because of his previous experience with Marvel, and although the last movie he did with them was a bit bad, the other ones did well, and they want his name to be the one that people think about with this movie. So
last I heard though, Zack had some input in who got him, or in who they got to replace him.
I
think it's just the studio.
Yeah, but how much of that do you think is actually was actually down to Zack and him just like?
Well,
I don't know.
It might have been also like it might have been a bit of both. I would say like
I don't think that Warner Brothers really reached out and grabbed Joss. I think that Joss was handy. I think Joss was hanging around because he was talking Batgirl with folks. He was probably talking Batgirl with Zack. And I think Joss was handy, and I think that that's the beginning and the end of that story. I hope it is, because I think that any larger conspiracy definitely doesn't bode well for the universe. But I am convinced that Joss was handy. He had directed a team movie before, and that was the basis of Zack sort of being like, hey, can you fill in like whatever shots? I think that now Warner Brothers sees it as really advantageous that they can attach Joss's name in some capacity, but I think that capacity is going to be very limited by both contractual obligations, legal obligations, and also just hopefully Joss's respect for Zack, and treating Zack how he would want to be treated on his project. Yeah. I mean, if this happened to Joss would absolutely be furious about the idea of his product changing hand. We know that. He's really, really adamant, and half the reason why he had a huge falling out with Marvel is because Marvel wouldn't let him do what he wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
On his own movie. And I think that if he's treating Zack how he wants to be treated, he will back off this project. And I think if he shows up for a lot of this promo stuff, I think that's a sign that other forces are at work and trying to pressure that connection.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and it gave me a little bit of a hope that at the Justice League panel at Comic-Con, he was not there. Yeah. They didn't bring him on and trot him out as the, quote, new director to take Zack's place and stuff like that. They simply had Ben and the others, and all the cast members show up and ran with that. And that did give me hope, because I admit, if they just had Josh show up and take Zack's seat there, I might have thrown up. So.
Yeah. And honestly, and I think go ahead. You can go ahead.
Sorry, do you know the thing that I'm really not looking forward to is that if people dislike this movie and then once the reviews kick in and let's say they're in London or in somewhere else after the reviews have kicked in and everyone has seen it, and then they have another interview with Zack and start asking him the same questions that they did with Batman v Superman, I cannot take that because he's been through so much.
I know. That's where this whole situation.
I don't care about what people think about this movie. I'm gonna love it regardless. But if this happens again, like how it did with Batman v Superman, I'm gonna be so annoyed if they pester Zack or Ben again.
Yeah,
and that's where we talked about this in the past. Where like, if this movie is good, critics are gonna say it was because of Joss. If it's bad, they're gonna blame Zack. It's either way, Zack loses, and it sucks. And I think honestly, it's sad to admit, but I think Zack knows that, and that's probably one of the reasons why he brought Joss in, because he's like, Zack's aware of the situation. Like, he knows what the public thinks of him, and that sucks as a filmmaker, that like to know that you're just so hated just because you make movies that a lot of people don't like, and he's aware, and that's the whole reason why he had to wait to release the information about what happened to Autumn and his stepping down, because he knew the media would go crazy about it and they started attacking him and stuff, which they kind of did, and he got someone who like the public liked because he did good work in the public eyes in the Avengers movies, and for the public, like, that gave them more confidence in Justice League. And it sucks for us Zack Snyder fans because we were supporting him no matter what, but for the public, I think even again Zack, because he knew the situation, and like you said, Danielle, Joss was probably still around because of the whole Batgirl situation, that he was probably like, hey, I just lost my daughter, I can't do this, you probably have more people have more faith in you in the public eye. Could you help me out here? I'd really appreciate it. Something along those lines, because he knew Joss would be good for the image, as well as be the person that who would understand his situation as well. Even though I don't love Joss as a choice to help finish the movie, I can at least understand Zack's reasoning for bringing him in when he did.
Yeah.
And even though I've talked a lot of shit about Joss, and I stand by those feelings, but.
I stand by my words.
No mercy for Joss.
No, I know, but at the same time, Zack was the one who brought him in, or at least one. Zack wanted Joss part of this, and I trust in Zack's decision. Like, Zack hasn't failed me so far. I trust in Zack enough to believe him when he says that Joss is a good fit to finish this movie for him.
Yep. Agreed. And that's all we can do.
The best we can do is wait and see. And with that trailer coming, I'm still super excited for this movie. Nothing's gonna change that. But again, the whole situation it sucks. As a Zack Snyder fan, we all feel for him and everything that he's gone through, and we all want him to deal with more. But this whole situation, it is what it is, and we just have to deal with it and support the movie when it comes out, and support Zack as much as we can.
Yep.
Guys, what are you all planning for the Justice League movie? Like, are you doing anything special that night? I assume that you're all going to do a midnight viewing because, you know, we're all crazy about the movie. Yeah, I am. I don't know about you guys, but I am.
I'm gonna try to. But usually with each DCEU movie, I've been able to see it early in some capacity. Like with Man of Steel, they have this like Walmart screening like the day before.
Right, Nick, stop showing off, okay? Just because me and Martin don't live in America, we don't get screens that do early. We don't get early screenings. Okay. No, I'm glad you get to see it early, but
I'll probably end up seeing it like a day or two early, depending. And plus, my fiance through her work, they get to see a lot. Like I saw Wonder Woman a couple of days early because of her work, so I might end up seeing it early. Yeah.
Then you'll have to sit on it though. That's kind of torture because then you're like, I want to talk about it, but nobody else has seen it.
Remember Katie and I when we did our Man of Steel commentary, it was like literally right after I saw Wonder Woman, and there are so many things I wanted to talk to Katie about because there's so many parallels between the two movies, and I was just like, I was like going crazy, holding back. Because I'm like, I wanted to just geek out about it, but Katie hadn't seen it yet, and I'm like, ugh.
I went and saw it that night too, and then I was like, holy crap, you're right, now we gotta talk, you know. So.
Nick, I was joking, by the way. No, I'm glad you get to see it.
I didn't take it personally, but it's just like I've been lucky enough to be able to see these movies early. Like I saw Batman v Superman a couple days early because through one of the local news channels had a contest, and I was one of the winners, so I got to see that a few days early. I saw Suicide Squad early through my fiance's work, and then Wonder Woman early through my fiance's work. So I'm hoping that streak continues, but if it doesn't, oh well. But if I see it after you guys, that's when I'm gonna lose my mind. Like if I have to be the last one to wait and see it, that's.
I think I might see it before you guys do because Thursday night for me is 8 hours earlier than you guys.
That's true.
Unless you guys see it in an early screening.
Well, because what they do here in
early
America
screenings
lately,
miss my area every single time, and I just lay down and cry.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because like a lot of like screenings in the U.S. like a lot of opening nights say Friday, but most theaters in America I think have like a Thursday night showing. It's opening night, but it still says...
It's a Thursday night here as well.
Yeah,
because technically after 12 it's a Friday.
Yeah,
so
but for us
legally allowed to show it on the 17th.
Yeah, but for us it'll start at like 7 p.m. on that Thursday, and then it'd be like the day before starting at like 7. Because I used to work for AMC theaters, so like opening night would be like Thursday night at 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
No, here it's Thursday night.
It used to be like midnight, but then they've gotten earlier and earlier because movies.
Which is so beautiful. Yeah. It's like the entire world has aged with me. Because now the idea of going to a midnight screening, I'm like, no. I go to bed at 9. What are you talking about? So it's like they're like, well, we're gonna schedule it so that Danielle can still see it because I go to bed, after the screening. I'm like, now I'm tired. I'm not gonna do this.
Yep. No, I hear you. And all I know is whenever I go, I'm wearing my Superman shirt that I carefully painted remember on the back of. That's right, I'm a nerd.
Beautiful.
And I'm wearing that sucker, and I'm gonna watch the movie. So.
Yeah. I don't know because, I don't know what I'd do beforehand. I think I'd just be filled up with either adrenaline or some form of fuel naturally that I wouldn't be able to focus on anything. I'd just be like, just get me in my seat. Just get me in my seat. I just want to watch this movie. It's probably afterwards, the morning after, I'd just sit there and scream in joy. If that makes sense.
No, yeah. I was
think we're just gonna be bellowing during the trailers. We don't want trailers. Shut up. Do the movie. Come on. So, hurry up.
Yeah, well, the shame about the 7 p.m. screenings is that you don't get the midnight streaming nuts. Is the thing my favorite thing about going to a midnight screening was that costumes were 50% obligatory.
Oh yeah.
That everything was super I've held special screenings before when Star Trek films came out because we had the ability to at one of my theaters and those have always been the most amazing experiences of a movie, and now it's just you could be in a 7 p.m. opening screening with a bunch of people who are like, well, like people who just came to the theater and were like, well, maybe we'll go see this movie.
Yeah.
They don't do that in the UK here for midnight viewings. At least I remember the last time I remember when I went to watch Batman v Superman, it was people wearing t-shirts and that was about it. I didn't see anyone wearing a costume. The only time I saw anyone wearing a costume was in Suicide Squad, and it was a boy wearing a Joker. Ooh, I don't know how old he was. He was like a teen or my age probably. He was wearing like the Joker thing, but I don't know. I personally wouldn't. I wish I could wear costumes, but the only costume I'd want to wear is Batman, and I'll be a bit freaky.
I'm gonna wear Joker.
Aww.
You want
to Batman's a body second one.
Sorry.
Okay, you guys would be so cute though. You could be Batman, he could be Joker. You'd be so adorable. This cute little
Sammy
antagonistic
always
duo.
says you're Superman, aren't you? Are you Superman? What are you now? You're the Joker now. He's changed to
Yeah.
He always says that he's Superman and I'm Batman. But yeah, sorry about that. I did promise he won't interrupt you guys anymore.
No, it's fine. But
join the podcast.
Yeah. All right. So
Say hi.
Actually, it's getting to that time of the day. I need to start getting ready for work.
Same
So
here.
on that note, I want to say thanks to everyone for joining me today. We spent a whole 2 hours rambling, so
Yeah.
which is always fun. But I'm glad we were able to do this. I know it's been a while since we had to catch up and kind of speculate about the trailer and all that stuff. But next week's gonna be a big one because now it's gonna be the final trailer breakdown. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. So
we'll have to reserve 5 hours for that.
Oh God, I know.
That's just like 2 hours of screaming first,
know.
right? Like just screaming,
Yeah.
and then we'll start talking.
Hey, last time it was like 2 hours of us, tearing apart every second, every frame and every second. I'm like staring at the screen. Wait, no, that's the Tower of London. Okay, they're in London. They're all like, we had good times with that.
Yeah,
I think we should put like a warning at the beginning of the next podcast. Be careful. Have your volumes.
I know. Have them extra low.
On level 1.
Yeah.
As we will be screaming and like just shouting on top of each other as to how amazing this trailer is, and I can't even imagine our reaction to the actual movie.
Oh God, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, nice speaking to you guys.
No,
I'm glad
nice having you guys here.
to do a podcast that's for 2 hours. That's been great.
No, yeah, I know. No, thank you for joining us. So before you guys head out, I just want to, do you guys want to each go around and tell everyone listening where they can find you online?
I am Artyom. You can find me as Grey Conlaw on Tumblr.
I'm Danielle, and I'm a Social Justice League on Tumblr.
I'm Katie, and I'm I'm story advocate on Tumblr.
I'm Fatma, and I'm Stay Awesome Gotham on Tumblr.
And then, of course, you guys can find me here at Nerdy Nick on YouTube, True Man of Steel on Twitter or Tumblr. And thank you guys for listening, and thanks everyone here for joining me for the podcast, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And thanks everyone for listening in today. This is a whole lot of fun. Definitely check out next week's podcast when we break down the new Justice League trailer. You guys can also check out the new Wonder Woman commentary that should be up on my channel, so long as Warner Brothers doesn't take it down. So thank you guys for listening again, and until next time, have a good one.